Of course, staying with buildings, the reconstruction of the buildings gutted by a 2022 fire at the National Assembly will begin tomorrow. Parliament today also unveiled the design of the buildings. It's estimated to cost about 2.1 billion rands and expected to take up to 2 years. Nasiphi Same attended that briefing, joins us now. Nasiphi, afternoon. Do we know why this process has taken so long?
Well, fortunately for us, we do have the Secretary to Parliament, Mr. Xolile George, who will be able to explain to us as to why it has taken so long for the reconstruction of Parliament. And as you put it, we were basically following that press briefing, we were taken through the old Assembly and the National Assembly, where, as you put it, the devastating fire of the January 2nd in 2022 gutted most parts of the old Assembly and the National Assembly. But to talk to us further on that particular question, I'm joined by the Secretary to Parliament, Mr. Xolile George. Sir, thank you so much for your time. But why did it take so long to reconstruct or start the rebuilding of Parliament?
Thank you very much, Nasiphi, and good afternoon to Newzroom Afrika viewers. Today marks a very important, exciting day in the history of South Africa, and in particular for us as Parliament, in that coming from a devastating fire on the 2nd of January 2022, was one of the most painful situations that has ever happened in our country. And it has to take us a lot of work. Firstly, we would appreciate that this was a crime scene because somebody intruded Parliament and burnt it. So for the first 6 months of the fire being stopped, we have to allow the law enforcement agencies to do the investigation, to make sure that they have got all the information they need for purposes of the criminal trial, which all South Africans have seen that it has been undertaken. So only after that period that Parliament was handed over the site, access to the site, so that we can then start the process of determining what is the scope of damage and make sure that the work of the investigation team that was done produces a preliminary report. So Public Works led that process and make sure that it handed over a report to Parliament, which around May, Parliament then received the report. By July, assessed the report and made sure that it follows all the due process of Parliament to look for resources to be able to start the process. So we're glad that at the end of October, the Minister of Finance allocated through the medium-term budget policy statement an appropriation of about 2 billion rand, which he indicated that come February 2023, that money will be appropriated to Parliament. So we started in earnest to start working around it. But in reality, Nasiphi, it's not about what we are doing now, handing over the site of Parliament to be rebuilt. We have already, resulting out of the devastating fire, we had about 210 offices of members that were completely gutted down in one house, which is National Assembly, where the actual fire took place. So we had to simultaneously start prioritizing the refurbishment, identification of about 210 offices for members. And we're glad as Parliament that within a space of 3 months, May, June, July last year, we finished 155 offices. And we're now in a process of identifying an additional 54 offices. We have already done some committee rooms that were also damaged to make sure that we start ensuring that there's infrastructure for members to start coming back to work for Parliament. So today's symbolic importance is that we are now ready to demolish the significant part of this building, a historical building that we all know, and we had to go through a lot of processes of approvals from the heritage, knowing that Parliament is a heritage site, it's a national key point. So we had to go through all those regulatory processes that are required by law to make sure that when we hand over the contractor, we are able to say, based on sound engineering advice, this building needs to be raised down completely, this one can still be saved, and so on. So today we've reached all of that stage. So the contractor handed over today will work between May, June, July, and in August would have cleared all the rubble. It would have demolished a significant part of the building, cleared the rubble. So the main contractor starts in earnest at the end of August to take over the actual setting up of the structure to start building.
We're going to unfortunately have to leave it there. Secretary to Parliament detailing to us the process before we got to this particular day where they handed over the keys to start with the process of reconstructing Parliament. Earlier on, we heard that it will be a new Parliament, or rather People's Parliament reimagined, giving us a few of the additions that they will be adding to the building of Parliament that we heard the Secretary to Parliament indicating that all work starts tomorrow.
Nasiphi Same in Parliament.